Hello, this is Shaken. Welcome to the Air Battle Games YouTube channel. We are continuing our series of videos showing the play in Birds of Prey 2nd edition. This is the early October 2024 version of the game. And we have used this setup in some of our previous games, and we've added now our plane on the map, our target on the map. But this is the same starting position, altitude 35, speed of 380, and we've done here calculating our initial aircraft state in a previous video, as well as calculating our corner keys in a previous video. And so now we're going to attempt to move on the map. One of the first things that happens in a game is placing your vector. The vector has to be flight points away from your nose and in a bearing that your nose sets. So this is just like you would have used play in a movement. If you were going to move 10 flight points, you had a cone of sky that you could move within, both in the vertical and horizontal, and you can place the vector in any position there. In the first game turn, you are using your nose position to place that, and subsequent turns, you are, during the game turn, moving your vector from a starting to an ending position, and that vector at the ending position, which has its length modified by your performance, is the vector for subsequent game turns of play. So we've shifted the aspect of play, having a little bit of freedom on where you end up on the map, from the movement phase into the plotting phase. So I've chosen a position that is straight down the nose. We're up here at the 240 arc, and 240 is kind of right in between these cardinal directions. All of these directions are notated with this A, B, C, D, E, and F when we create a vector. And a vector is one or two of these directions and the magnitude, and then an altitude change. So in this case, we're 5A and 5F. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out F, and up 5. So it's just the very bottom of the 30-degree arc. And so 5 up, so instead of 35, this is at altitude 40. Oops, an extra 25 tell on that. All right, so our target's bearing is 12A plus 1F plus 18. So that means it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 up the A, 1 over the F, and then it is 18 levels higher. So from 35 plus 18, it is at 53 altitude. Oops, get this on. Naturally, we've placed everything at an edge of the map, which is where aircraft always end up during gameplay. The aircraft speed is 9. You see our aircraft speed here of 10. And we're all set to attempt our interception. As we mentioned in the previous video, we have successfully fixed the bomber, and so it's going to move before we plot. So let's perform that right now. We'll move him on the map. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, oops, 8, 9. So 2211 is the ending spot. I'll move that across here, and I'll make a notation correcting the incorrect note that I'd made there. Next up, we want to shoot a bearing to figure out where the bomber is to us. It looks to me like it's very much straight up the 300. So I'm just going to put a little dot here that says 300 up, and that's what I'm going to be maneuvering against. So I want my position to end up somewhere like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Here would be pure interception. Right? Now I'm armed with missiles, so I actually want to lag the bomber a little bit. If you notionally think there's a circle around the plane that's 10 FP away, and so it's got an apex here, straight down the A direction. And I'm going to go for a move that ends, I'm going to use a different color for this vertex here at the end point. I'm going to go for something more in this position. So I end up lagging the bomber a little bit. So the interesting thing is, as you make the turn around, to get to this position, we actually need a vector that is twice that length. So this is the average point. If we're going to swing through this whole turn, we're going to move along the midpoint between the starting and the ending vector. So what I'm going to do is count out this distance that we're going to travel. Remember, we have to go out this arc because the position needs to always be 10 away. So it's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 around the arc. And so the next position would, be another 7 along the arc. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right about there would be the ending vector. And so this means that my nose at the end of this maneuver will be pointing probably down 330, but right here, which would put us just perfectly nose on with the bomber, and a little bit of trail. 2, 4, 6, maybe 7 hexes behind, maybe 8 because of the lookup. And with the missile that we have, it has a boost distance of 6, so we'd be in a really good position to give the bomber a real hard time. I want to do a little thinking about the ending position here. This has been very flat, but in the 3D arc, we can choose also our vertical, right? So we're +5 on this vector, but I really want to push up as high as I can because we're kind of low. And so I'm going to look here at the position. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So this sort of darkened shaded area are my options for where the vector is going to end up. And so if I'm going to do the mod, the maximum amount of altitude gain, right here is 10, 10. So this is 9 horizontal and 11 vertical. And out here is 8 horizontal and 12 vertical. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to pull this back 2 hexes closer to the airplane and note that it's going to be up 12. So these are my vectors that I'm going through. So U of S is my starting vector. It's actually the same as V that gets copied in here. So I'm going to note that it's 5A, 5F plus 5. And my targeted ending vector is here 2, 4, 6, 7B, 1A. That's our W. And then plus 12. And I realize I've made one small error in that I skipped our procedure in step B, where our first item was to find the gravity steps for the pitch band. This is pretty straightforward. You take where your vector is on the nose, and so you see my nose is up 30. That's either these yellow bangs, and then it's whether it's above or below the central 30 degrees axis. And since we are, with only +5, we're very much below the center point, that means that our gravity steps is +5. So anywhere from a pitch of about 0 to 15, we're +6. From 15 to 30, we're +5. From 30 to 45, we're +4, and so on. You're from 45 to 60, 65 to 70, or 60 to 75, and 75 to 90. Each go down by 1. So our G steps, we noted here, was +5. And that's great. These other U's are meant to show where intermediate points are. And so you can see we have this apex here, which is important there, and that is at, 10A. And it's partway through our altitude gain, between 5 and 12. It's not really critical what you put here. It doesn't have to be like exactly approximated. I'm gonna guess we're about +8 right there. That's fine. I don't have any other intermediate points. These next 2 lines are about additional segments. There are reasons that you break a move into segments if you changed your G load or if you had to roll in the middle, but we don't have any of that. So I'm gonna go ahead and line through those as well. Oh, great. So we've done the subsection and move. That's what created us this US, U1, and W vectors. So the next thing is to find the total poles. And this is to create a vector that's the sum of H and B for all the segments and subsections here, as though we're on a straight line. And then we're going to add the G steps to the sum of v for the vector. So our h components are 2, 4, 5, plus 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so we're 14h. And then we were at 5 at the start and 12 at the end. So that's 7, plus the g steps of 5. So that's 12h. Okay, then find the slant length of this vector, and that's the total poles value. So slant length, we've been using this and called it slant distance for a long, long time. Essentially, this is guided by how much horizontal and vertical components relate to each other. So if the vertical component is equal to or less than the horizontal component, the distance is the horizontal component alone. And if the vertical is greater than the horizontal, the magnitude is, the value is the sum of the two divided by 2. In this case, 12h is smaller in magnitude than, 12v is smaller in magnitude than 14h. Therefore, the total poles is just the horizontal component, or 14. We're going to find the m, the final m here, and that's the midpoint between u and v. And so that distance we actually had marked as our target already. So it's 7 away from both the starting and the ending point. And then it's going to be the average of the distances. So this is 2, 4, 6, 8a, 2b. And it'll be the midpoint of the two altitudes. So between 12 and 5 is 7 over 2, 3.5. So we can choose how much we want to go. Since I wanted to climb more, I'm going to make it plus 9. And great, at that point, I'm going to update the FAD to show the changes from plotting. Let's see, our new FAD, we're going to have moved all the way over here to pointing out 300. So that puts the nose here in 330, up 30. I have some options for rolling. Anytime a turning segment, and this is, if you notice on the aircraft data card, there is a roll class. Our roll class is fast. Used high here. We've got to get that consistent, which we'll do shortly. But in the fast roll rate, we get a free roll of the D, which is a position 2 away from your nose, by 1 for any 2-cell or greater turn. We actually did a 3-cell turn, so we can definitely use this 1 free roll. And I'm going to use it to pull the wing 1 step closer over here. And then that puts our nose, our canopy right here at, what is that, 045 level. So great, our FAD is updated. We announced the table, I'm plotted. If other people need to show their moves now because of the initiative order, they can go while we do our next steps. So next up is movement. This may be something where other people are doing their plots. You may skip movement and go do aircraft performance right now if other people are still figuring out their plot. But right now, since our target is already moved, we can go ahead and move. So we have a step here to foreshorten the vector m to find the move z. And so what's happening is when this is sweeping around the curve, your aircraft's not flying straight to that point. It's actually going around a curve. And the farther you turn, the tighter that is. And that ends up pulling the end position closer to the starting position of the aircraft. And so that's what this foreshortening step is. So we're going to grab the FAD on the HUD side. And there is a little gold mark right above 2.5. It's not terribly obvious, but you can see a little tick there. And we're going to move the FAD move, and we move 3 cells, the nose, and we'll move that underneath. And there's little gold marks in the graining here at each of these points. They're not always the easiest to see, but there they are. So that sets up FADWIP. And the next thing is we're going to take each of the components of M, so M is 8A, 2B plus 9, and we're going to foreshorten it with this ratio. So we put the existing M component underneath and look above to find the Z component. So we look over 8. 8's right at 7.5, so it's still going to be 8. Where's 2? 2's at 1.9, so it's going to stay at 2. And then the plus 9, it drops a tiny bit to plus 8. So that is the effect of foreshortening, pulling the move in ever so slightly. So Z is the final aircraft position. So we're going to go ahead and move our aircraft to that position. And so that's hex 1615. I'm going to record that right away so I don't make any mistakes bumping the map. We're going to have gained 8 levels of altitude. So our altitude is going to be 43. See if I can grab some altitude tiles here. And I'll rotate myself to face the 330. We'll reorient the box miniature. Since the canopy is on the equator now, the wings drop to a more full upright position. And do we have anything else? Oh, then the next thing to do is to place the vector at the end position. So our new W is this value, 7BA 1A plus 12. So I'm just going to use a single map and not get the altitude correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1B. Our movement vector is, interestingly enough, right through the target. That's a pretty good state to be in for a gunshot. Let's see. The last step is we note we're going to scale the W length to the new speed, but we do that in step E. Lastly, we're going to find greatest G from the greatest segment pitch rate. The pitch rate, by the way, is your total pulls most of the time. But if you sub-segment your move, you'll get a pitch rate for each segment, and the greatest of those is what you'll use instead. So our total pulls was 14, and we're going to put that over the G mark here. And so the G mark is, again, right here between 2.5 and 3. And then we're going to slide that under 14, right about there. And then over 1, we're going to find the load. And so 1's right here. And it looks like we were pulling 5 Gs through that whole maneuver. We're going to record our max pitch rate there was 14. You notice I already put the ending hex in a different spot. In the next turn spot, our greatest G was 5.0. We didn't have any departure points, happily. And at that point, we have concluded the movement portion of the game. So that concludes this video. Look soon, we'll be doing a video doing the performance calculation, which will conclude flight for this game turn. Once again, if you enjoyed this content, please hit like, please hit subscribe to get more. If you have questions, you can put them in the comments area here, or better still, go to the mailing list at groups.io/g/airbattle. Post your questions there where the whole community can help you out. Thank you very much.